Hi everyone, Dr. Partha Nandi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a beautiful but rainy, kind of a drizzly London kind of day in Detroit, but I appreciate you joining us wherever you are. And today we're talking about an interesting topic. It's about the microbiome. We all think that, we use the word microbiome, gut bugs, kind of like it's one size fits all, right? That everybody's got the same. But today I want to talk about, hey, you know what? It's individual, meaning that the kind of microbiomes, right, that you have may be unique, and that it may actually tell you a little bit about who you are. And then you can change yourself. So it's almost like your DNA. Everybody's got a little different DNA that you have, and understanding what that is can help you shape your life, shape your health. So whether you're having diseases like Crohn's disease or asthma or whatever it is, it helps you to understand what we can do. So today's talking about the microbiome and talking about those trillions of bugs in your intestinal system, and what can we do? What can we do to figure out what we have, what we lack? So again, the thing is, blueberries may not be great for you. Brussels sprouts may not be great for you, right? And what is it that may be good for you? Because we all have these, we go to the doctor and they say, eat this and you'll be great. And that's typically right, but it may not be what you need. So to me, it's really making it custom for you. Your gut microbiome is different and it's unique. So how do we custom make it? So today's live, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about, hey, how do you measure that? What is your microbiome profile, right? What is it that makes you unique? How do you measure that? What are some of the tests that we have? What do you need to know about those tests, right? And then what do the test results really mean? Does it matter? And some ideas to consider when you're doing tests. Should you do it? Should you not do it? So I think it's really important conceptually, but also realistically, because sometimes we get these ideas and recommendations from our doctors and from our dietitians or even from the web, and we all do it, but it may be actually harming you. Have you ever noticed sometimes that you may be doing everything right that the doctor or the healthcare professional tells you, and you get worse? Have you ever had that happen? And maybe it's because your microbiome may be different than everybody else that's around you, and so you need specific recommendations. When people say, "Well, eat broccoli and it'll be good," it may not be the right thing for you. So let's just jump right into it. So number one, human beings, right? We're like super organisms. How do I say it better? Like, each of us have a little tiny kind of a world of our own, where we have visitors and bugs and systems that live within us, and it can affect who you are, affects your mood, affects your whole being, and it can affect your disease. So whether you have heart disease or not, whether you have cancer or not, may not just be your genetics. It may be the stuff that's inside your body. So really important for you to understand that. It's kind of like your fingerprint, right? When you ever seen CSI or those shows, the fingerprint is important because it kind of measures who you are. Well, each of us have a unique kind of a microbiome that tells us how unique we are. And the mix of the bugs in your intestine, right? Not just the bacteria, but the viruses, the protozoa, all these are really unique. And so even identical twins, get this, even identical twins do not have identical microbiome. Super important. And I think that you have to understand that, when you look at these concepts, you have to understand that this is something that's real cutting edge research. This was not even known several years ago. Some of these things weren't even known months ago. So it's really important to know that all these ideas are cutting edge. Tell us where you're joining us from, like some of you are, and please give us your questions so we can answer them. This is really important for us to connect. And also, if you think this is something that's useful, share it with your community. I really emphasize all of you share it as much as you can, because it goes way. This is what I love about having lives, is that you can share beyond our own community, and it can really spread and get some information that's important. So everyone's unique network of microbiome is determined by who you are, your environment, your DNA, and one of the first things that you're first exposed to your gut microbiome as an infant, right? When the infant is exposed to depends on the species of your mom. So we're again super connected to our parents, especially our mother. And in this instance, we're connected because of our microbiome. Important to know that. And as you grow, you develop your microbiome, which is kind of impacted how you were born, right? Were you born C-section? Were you born through vaginal delivery? Really important, right? And also, it also matters where you live, your environment, your lifestyle. Really important. Here's where you can control it. How do you become your own health hero? By not eating a bunch of crap. Don't eat crappy carbohydrates. Don't eat crappy fats as well. People just think it's always about carbs, but also bad fats. So we've talked about that. And then these can change your microbiome, one that's beneficial to your health or one that puts you at increased risk. So scientists have found that having a large number, a variety, right? So you want to have a large variety of bacterial species, and that really helps us. And it seems to be a good thing. People who have a lot of diversity in their gut microbiome have lower rates of obesity. Every day I hear about a diet that's being proposed. But here we're talking about the trillions of bugs in your gut may help you control your weight. Isn't that amazing? So it's really important to understand that. And people who have high degrees of the right diversity may actually have less rates, slower rates of obesity, depression, diabetes, stuff that's ravaging our world, and are also less likely to show signs of weakness as they get older, frailty. So microbiome tests, right? So I've been talking about how unique this stuff are. How do you test for your microbiome? How do you know what type of microbiome you have? Very important. It's kind of an important topic. So microbiome tests measure the microorganisms in a person's gastrointestinal tract. I should tell you, my team is going to put up superfoods. My superfoods cookbook helps you to be able to diversify your microbiome. Tells you what each foods and their nutrient values are. Super important. If you're able to, my team will put that up. But again, back to microbiome tests. What are they? And these tests really can give a person a good idea of the types and amounts of bugs or microorganisms that are there in their gut. Different tests may offer different types of analysis, right? So, for example, some tests give a broad overview of the gut bugs. Others may give a deeper analysis, giving you subtypes. Remember, we talked about genus and species before. Those of you who've watched us on the lives before, genus and species. So you can get different levels based on the type of test. Some companies are combining microbiome analysis with other data to give people really customized diet recommendations. And some actually review a person's overall health and show recommendations for achieving health goals. The tests that are different, they have different commercial microbiome testing, but they generally will test a person's stool samples. The way you go about doing it is giving stool samples. And so it's nice. It's not blood. You're not even you can do it in your home, right? So it's pretty easy. Everybody knows how to give a stool sample, I think, right? Most people do. So you can get it from a stool sample and then get a good idea about what your microbiome, and importantly, maybe an idea of your health. The two types of stool testing that a company may offer, there are two types. The first looks at the markers that can talk about a disease like an illness, or the second type involves taking out DNA. Now, healthcare professionals, they may take a sample of a person's stool and then put it on a petri dish, right? And then grow it and then understand the kind of bacteria that's giving them symptoms. For example, all of us have heard of like getting, food poisoning or like an E. coli infection, where you take a stool sample, put it on some kind of a lab scenario, and you grow it, and you can say, okay, this is the kind of problem you have. Here's what you should do. Now, commercial testing is more likely to use DNA analysis by really extracting the DNA from the stool sample, and healthcare professionals can really find out the type of bacteria in the stool. Now we have direct-to-consumer, ones that go directly to us. They require little more than filling out a form online, and many of you may have already done this, and then paying a fee and then sending a stool sample. They give you a profile. When you get a profile, what does that mean, right? What do you do with the results? Because you're doing all the stuff and you don't even know what that means. So it's important now to know what the results mean. Again, thank you so much for you guys who are joining us right now. We're talking about microbiome. We're talking about what it means, how unique it is, and how you can test for it, how you can make use of it. Because remember, eating, broccoli or cauliflower or kale may not be good for you. Isn't that amazing? We always give these general recommendations. What's nice is that we're getting really specific. We're saying, hey, you know what? You may be able to get better health by getting more specific. So we're talking about the test results. Now you've sent off a stool sample. What do they mean? The different companies give different reports, and not right now, there's no single standard of reporting. Expect a report that really gives you an overview of the microorganisms in your gut and whether or not they're associated with certain diseases is very important, right? Remember, we talked about some of the good bugs. We talked about bifidobacterium, right? We talked about how they could be really helpful for your health. But here, these reports can say, hey, you've got these types of bugs, and could they be related to some sort of disorder? And depending on the company, you can get a report with the quantities of the microorganisms, a comparison of your results. This is something kind of cool, is a comparison to your results to a healthy sample. So a lot of my, patients, especially outside the United States, what they have is they get they get a sample and they compare it. For example, they have ulcerative colitis and they have it compared to a control, someone who doesn't have ulcerative colitis. So you can say, hey, I may have, right? I may have this type of bug that is not present in somebody who's healthy. So what can I do to overcome that? That's the whole idea behind it. So, some companies will offer even probiotic suggestions. So good bugs that can help you with your situation. If you're lacking in something, hey, maybe you can get a better bug kind of profile to be able to help you. Some companies will look at cellular health, immune system health. So there's lots of variety in there. Now, bacteria are very complex and very rapidly evolving, right? They don't always stay the same. So they're difficult to pin down in terms of only, ever good or only ever bad, because it could change, right? You may be able to be in a flux. So it's important to know that bacteria are not just all or none, good or bad. We don't really know what a healthy level of some of these bacteria are because we're just learning to understand, But this is what's cool about these lives, is we're giving you cutting edge stuff that is not, 35 years old. It's really cutting edge in the sense that it's changing. And we want to give you a glimpse because to me, this is the future. This is what I talk about being a health hero. You are able to then control based on your gut microbiome what you want to do. So at the moment, we don't have enough knowledge to say, okay, you need to do X amount. Absolutely, but you can get some tendencies. So when you're ordering a microbiome testing, what can you consider, right? It's best to consider microbiome testing as a first step to understanding your gut health, not as a diagnostic tool, not to make a diagnosis, but to say, okay, what does my gut health look like? And a lot of us say that, like my patients say, I want to really understand my gut health. I want to understand what is going on with it. And here's a good way to do that. Now, microbiome tests are not FDA approved, meaning that it's not tested them for accuracy or safety, right? So if you get a stool test done at home, make sure the company you're ordering from, the kit from, fully discloses all kinds of information, such as if they're backed by any studies, really important, or what does the lab look for in terms of microbiomes and what the customer ratings are. Remember, the microbiome is a living, dynamic environment. And so you may have something that is really large today, but may change in a week or a month, depending on diet, depending on lots of different things. So it may not. It's almost like taking a picture, right, in a moment of time, and it could change because life is not static, right? So if I take a picture of my 2-year-old and he's moving around, you see one picture, you say, oh, he's happy, but the next moment he's sad. So it gives you an idea that it's like this, the microbiome, that you may not always get the entire picture with a snapshot. Scientists, we're still in the early stages of understanding the microbiome's broad role in health, but we know lots of information now that we can pass on to you. And remember, you have to know still, how do you get good bacteria? The Western diet, we've talked about this, is not great for that. High in bad fats, high in simple sugars, low in fiber. Remember, you want to have fiber-rich foods like fruits, veggies. And again, this is where my Superfoods cookbook, I brag about it, but Superfoods cookbook can give you that, the nutrient-rich foods that can help your microbiome. And remember, you don't want to have an atomic bomb go off in your intestine. That's called using antibiotics willy-nilly. You got something, hey, I'm going to use an antibiotic. Next time, I'm going to use another antibiotic. I think I got a UTI. I'm going to use an antibiotic. Every one of those events demolish your natural microbiome, and it can take you a long time to replenish those. So really think about it when you use antibiotics. Also remember, exercise can also encourage the growth of a variety of bacteria. We talk, being a health hero, we talk about 5 steps. Number one, have purposeful activity. Number two, we talk about food and a nutrition plan. Number three, movement with purpose. Number four, spirituality. And number five, community. All of these will actually help you with great health, but also help you to diversify your microbiome. And that's what's cool about it. You can become your own health hero and really understand what's going on. So, very, very cool. I'll recap. Your microbiome is like a fingerprint for yourself. It's unique, and we can now test it. Lots of variety in there, but keep your eyes wide open to make sure that, hey, listen, what else is going on that could make it better. So I'll start answering some questions now. Thanks for you guys for staying on. I appreciate it. Tiffany Nostrand. Tiffany, where are you from? We always see your comments. Good evening to you. Let us know where you're from. Christine Sutherland from Port St. Lucie. Thank you for joining us. Ronald Raveri from, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your name, La Riviere from Montreal, one of our favorite places. My wife and I visited there one of our anniversaries. Laura from Metro Detroit. Hannah Miranda, watching from the west side of Detroit. And then Laura Probert says, have you had your microbiome tested? And what's the most interesting thing? We did have it tested. And what was interesting is that, the fact that some of the most healthiest foods, quote unquote, was not healthy for me, meaning that I did not need more kale, right? Instead, I needed a different kind of food. So what was nice is to say that not only the different species, but to tell me that what would traditionally be okay, an abundance of this type of healthy food is not one when I was needed, but rather, I need a different kind of foods. Perhaps, having more, a certain type of fruit. So that was nice about the fact that we didn't get general information. So I love that. And then Nancy Chatham, Lyons from Florida. Let me get some more questions. Kirsten says, hello. What are the best foods to eat for gut health? I think, Kirsten, whole foods more than anything else, foods that you can see, right? Foods that are going to really end up in the right place. Lots of us eat foods that have been pulverized, processed. You don't even know where they came from. So you want to make sure that you do something extraordinary, go in the kitchen, find whole foods that you make, right? So foods with lots of fiber and a variety of fruits and vegetables, different colors, and don't keep doing the same thing every day. If you like, cauliflower, don't have cauliflower every day. If you like blueberries, don't have blueberries every day. Mix it up, have an apple, have pears, have blueberries. Diversity is the key, because that's how you diversify your microbiome. You want to make foods that are simple. To me, make it part of your daily activity. And I know that Kirsten has told us that, after really going on some of the plans that we talk about, she had said fruit and yogurt every single morning. And so that's really critical to understand. If you make something a daily habit, it's really important to know what that does for you. If you do it just once in a while, it's like everything else. If you don't make it a daily habit, so you pick foods that that you can reproduce very quickly. And then let's take a look. And then Nancy says, what type of doctor does this test? Gastroenterologist. Some gastroenterologists do it, but you can get some of these direct to consumer. So it's really important to know, Nancy, you can get this online and you can get it direct to consumer. Just make sure you look at the data, make sure it's tested. And then Laura Porwood says, has microbiome testing helped any of your patients? Absolutely. So I had a patient who has Crohn's disease, and she took one of the commercial tests that we had. I think it was Viome that she was taking, and she found out what her profile was. They gave her a complete profile. She went over it with me, and she started changing her diet, and really helped her Crohn's symptoms. Now she didn't stop all of her medications, right? It's not the point, but she took her medications and accentuated what she was doing, and it really value added all the things that she was doing. So excellent. And Kirsten says, where do you get tested? You can get online. You can go, a lot of functional medicine doctors do this as well. So really important to know that. But you can get it online as well. And then Laura says, I love spinach and was eating a lot. I had microbiome testing and was told to limit spinach to 1 cup a day. I also found out what foods were best for me. It's really interesting. It really is. It's not one size fits all. That's the cool thing about it. So very, very nice. Karen Terrigan, one of my awesome patients, Does Troy Gastro? No, so my practice doesn't do these microbial tests, but you can go online, and I can of course, if you message me, I'll let you know what I think would be good for us to be able to do. There are a number of tests out there that are commercial. And then Michelle Toole, thank you for joining us. Would you consider that gut health is the future of medicine? I really do, because to me, right, the center of health is in the gut. And once you can reshape that, you can really reshape so much that happens outside of your gut. To me, the future of medicine is customizing it. The future of medicine is making it not one size fits all, but Michelle, what you need may not be what I need, right? And this goes to everything. Like, for example, if you use, we talk about the health hero pharmacies quite a bit, but if you can do pharmacogenomics, right? You take a pill, I take a pill. But because of my genetic nature, that pill may work better on me. Pharmacogenetics. So it's the same way here. Your gut microbiome, and you talked about gut health, Michelle. If you change that and customize that, that can affect so much of your health, including your brain health, your heart health, your emotional well-being. Super important. And Nancy says, can you tell us which companies are good to test with? There are a number of companies that we talk about, and we talked about Viome quite a bit, but I'll go into details on a live, because it's not fair to just kind of throw out some names without really giving you some disclaimers about why. Hi, buddy. My 2-year-old, of course, comes in. You want to sit down? Here, you gave me how many books? Look at this. The Itsy Bitsy Spider, and then this has nothing to do with the gut microbiome. Alphabet Discovery, and let's see, and Farm Animals. I'm learning all kinds of stuff. He wants it back. So I digress. Sorry about that. But I want to give a more detailed discussion about which ones we recommend, and which ones I think, and the reasons why. Right. So it's not okay. This is the reason why. For you, it may be a little bit easier to do a certain type of test. That's why. Oren says, hello, watching from Toronto. That's awesome. Home of the Raptors. Thank you for joining us. And Elke Stevens says, how much does the testing cost approximately? I think it's getting better and better. I think some are can be expensive, but I think less than $200 now. So it's not bad. I mean, always relative, right? For some people, less than $200 may be a lot, but I think it's becoming more and more affordable. The technology is getting more and more affordable. Michelle Johnson, hello from Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. Thank you for joining us. And then Nancy's, she says, unfortunately, insurance doesn't cover functional medicine doctors. I agree, but you can still go online and get them. And if a lot of us, like me, I have an HSA, right, health savings account, and so you can use this for health savings account. So I think it's really important to know that you can use some of these things to be able to, some of these accounts to be able to help pay for it. Really important, and I think at some point I'll do a live talking about that. We just don't understand our healthcare system so well. We don't get the idea, a lot of us, about how to really utilize insurances better, and some of the techniques that we have to be able to do it. So Monty Anderson says, doctors have been looking in the wrong end of the telescope. Yeah, I think I understand what you mean. Like, I think you're talking about, instead of prevention, I'm hoping that's what you mean. Instead of prevention, we're talking about just looking at the symptoms only, and not and being myopic. I think I understand what you're saying, but I think it's changing. So many of us, especially the people that are being trained now, understand that, hey, you know what? If we can change disease, right? If we can change people's well-being and start in places like the gut, it can really change the paradigm. So it's really important. Hey, thanks again for joining us. I know you got lots of choices on a beautiful Tuesday evening, so I appreciate you taking some time with us. So we'll continue on next week. We'll be back at 5:30 Eastern with another topic that'll be interesting. And remember, if you're watching this, share this with others. If you think there's somebody who could benefit from it, share it. And otherwise, I will see you again next week. Remember, make healthy living a part of every day. Thanks for watching. Namaste. Talk to you later. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Partha Nandi. And if you enjoyed that video, you're going to love the next one. It's full of incredible information to help you start your health hero journey.